Hello, everyone. So, whether this is for William himself or family and friends who want to learn about William's birth story, Catherine and I thought it would be fun to record what we remember about William's birth and what it's like to be first time parents, especially parents who went through a NICU and C section experience and not quite your traditional birth. So, anyway, that's what we're going to be doing, and I just kind of wanted to start off. So when we got married, we talked and said, "Oh, we're not sure when we're going to have kids." Thought maybe a couple of years, and I for sure was not going to have a kid before I took the MCAT. And well, here I am. I'm a dad of almost 7 months now, and I'm not taking the MCAT until May 16th, hopefully. Who knows? Right now, the whole coronavirus thing's happening. But yeah, we have a son. And I just remember one day I was driving home from work, and I every now and then get impressions that I know are from God. And I knew that we had a baby on the way. And actually, in the moment, I kind of had a gut hunch it was a boy. Not sure. I went back and forth after that, but I was like, man, maybe we have a little boy coming. And hey, I was right. But yeah, I had just that really strong spiritual prompting. And so anyway, I talked to Catherine a little bit after, and we went back and forth on when we were going to have a kid.
I said no, 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 no.
And anyway, she did go off birth control for a bit. We weren't sure what we were going to do. And at that point, it was too late. We found out we were pregnant. When was it? February?
February 10th.
Okay, there it is. Fast forward several months later to September 10th. Catherine was 34 weeks pregnant, and I at the time was shadowing Dr. Denegi in Idaho Falls, who practices psychiatry, because I was really interested in it. And we were with a patient, and I got a phone call from Catherine, which was kind of odd because she knew that I was with patients, and so I probably couldn't answer. So I hung her up. But I texted and said, "Hey, is everything okay?" And she texted me saying that she'd gotten in a little fender bender. So I was like, "Oh shoot, she's pregnant. There could be issues." And so, yeah. Anyway, I'll let her tell that story. But
Yeah, so it was my one day off of work, ironically, for the week, and I'd spent the morning getting the house tidied, the baby's room finished, which is kind of a blessing in the end. But I wanted to run some errands, and to be honest, I wanted to go buy fall decorations at AC Moore because I wanted to decorate for fall that day. And so I took the time to work it out so that my dad could come to our house and I could drop him back off at the high school and I could use his car to go run some errands. And I was coming around a turn, I don't remember the street name, but in Rexburg, it's right past Central Park Apartments, like you're going to the university, and the car in front of me slowed down to make a left turn. So I slowed down, and the car behind me did not slow down and hit me, I think probably going about 20 or 25 miles per hour. It didn't feel like an extremely hard hit, but I guess it was. So we pulled off to the side. The car didn't have a lot of damage. The girl and I exchanged numbers, and I got her insurance information. I called my dad because I'd never been in a fender bender of any sort before, and I wasn't sure if I needed to call the police or anything. He told me I was probably fine, just get the insurance, and so I did. And we went on our way, and I decided to call John. John and I had texted throughout my whole pregnancy. Whenever I had a concern, I always texted him, probably too much, but it was a good resource to have. So I called him and told him what happened, and he told me I needed to be monitored for the next few hours. So I ran over to the office to get hooked up on the NST monitors, and I was apparently having contractions. I couldn't feel them at all, but they were pretty consistent. The midwife at the office, Tony, was pretty surprised I couldn't feel them. And so when John got there, he had just gotten out of some surgeries at the hospital. He asked Andrea, the ultrasound tech, to do an ultrasound. So we did an ultrasound. They were checking to see if there was a placental abruption. That's what he was worried about. The placenta looked totally fine. John even was in the room. He looked at it. He said, yeah, it looks great. And then they did a couple of blood tests on me, and John decided to send me up to the hospital. So Nanette was actually at the office dropping Grace off for work. And so Nanette, John, and I all went up to the hospital. And Nanette and I sat and got pre-registered at the hospital. We're cracking jokes. I'm kind of pissed because I wanted to...
We thought all was chill.
Yeah, I wanted to have a nice day off, and instead I'm spending it in the hospital getting monitored. So they take me to a room at labor and delivery, get me all set up again in a gown, get me hooked up back to the monitors. John comes in.
Well, yeah, and this is about when I got there too. And
Yeah.
it was funny because when she called me, I wasn't in a rush to get home. I actually went and stopped at Starbucks to get a gift card for the doctor I was working for, and nonchalantly kind of drove home. But I will be honest, I'm not lying. On the way home, I had a thought, what if we had our baby today? That would be cool. So anyway, I get to Rexburg, and I'm coming off the exit. My dad says, hey, we're taking Catherine up to the hospital. No stress, but just meet us there. And I get there, and all is good. My dad says, hey, you guys should be in for a pretty boring night. So I was like, dang it, I'm going to have to do my homework here. It's going to be a bore. We're going to have to watch a bunch of movies. And boy, were we wrong. I think less than 20 minutes after being in the hospital, my dad had already checked, made sure things were going well. But when he left, one of the nurses went to check Catherine's dilation. And apparently little baby William, who we decided his name would be, we weren't sure yet, but he was on his way. And so
I think dilated to a 3, which people usually are in a lot of pain, and I was feeling nothing, so it was a total shock.
Yeah. And you were bleeding a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we called my dad, had him come back in, and he's like, oh my goodness, we're gonna have to do an emergency C-section. And at that point, we didn't know that Catherine was actually having a placental abruption and in the early stages, but we did know that something was wrong and that she was going to have emergency surgery. So like that, the tone of everything switched that day. But I felt calm overall, and my dad went out for a little bit, and we had a talk, and we knew baby was coming, and we decided to give Catherine a blessing. And in that blessing, I just had the feeling to say that she and our baby boy were going to be perfectly healthy and that things would go super smoothly. And next thing we knew, we were heading into the OR. And I'll tell you, wow, that was unlike any other C-section or surgery I have watched during my shadowing experiences. It was quite real to have it be my wife on the table. But I was super calm knowing that my dad and Dr. Evans and Dr. Matt were all there, ready to help if we needed anything. And anyway, when my dad pulled out William for the first time, it was surreal seeing our son. And, they have this block so Catherine couldn't see her guts literally being open. But of course I was looking over, and she looks beautiful on the inside and the out. But it was super cool to see our son come out. And I had always envisioned, having him up close and be able to hold him right after, but they had to take him super quick and pass him into the NICU to get him breathing because he was too young to be able to breathe. So anyway.
Yeah, from my perspective, I was not calm when he told me we were having an emergency C-section. I broke down immediately into tears, and it all happened so fast. They got me prepped for surgery, and as I was getting wheeled into the operation room, I was crying hysterically to Caleb, saying, I don't have an outfit for my baby to take him home in. Like, please call my mom. I want an outfit. So Caleb was he lovingly called my mom, said, Julie, Catherine wants you to get an outfit. You really don't have to bring an outfit, but she wants you to bring an outfit. So that was kind of a funny thing. So I got into the OR and it all happened so fast. The anesthesiologist, Jared Allerton was his name, was my rock and a lifesaver during, I mean, Caleb was my rock ultimately, but as far as the hospital staff goes, he just kept me so calm. He had 2 minutes, I think John told him, to get a spinal tap in, or else they would have had to put me under general anesthesia, and that would have delayed the baby's progress a lot. And so he got the anesthesia in perfectly, and I didn't even realize they had cut into me, and all of a sudden I hear a baby cry, and that was the most surreal moment of my life. It was really awesome. I saw a blur go past me as I was on the operation table, but I didn't actually get to see him. A couple of funny things, I guess, about the whole experience is, or not funny, but just interesting. I didn't realize how fast your body could become numb. Just within 5 seconds, everything from my torso down was completely numb. And the weight of William being brought up out of my belly was the weirdest sensation in the world. And then the other funny thing was, in the rush to get William out, the anesthesia went a little bit high, and so it numbed my diaphragm, which I guess doesn't normally happen in a C-section. But I got a tickle in my throat probably 10 or 15 minutes into the surgery, and I was dying.
I had to yell at her to keep breathing because she was like,
I was choking and I couldn't cough because my diaphragm was numb and my gut was cut open. So I'm just sitting there trying to not let this tickle kill me. I couldn't feel any pain besides that dumb tickle in my throat. So that was I like to tell people that was the most painful part of giving birth for me, which is kind of funny. But after William came out, it took about 20 to 30 minutes to get me all sewed back up. John was really professional, really great at just keeping me kind of in the loop of what was happening. And also Dr. Evans was just really supportive of John in this incredibly stressful situation that I'm sure John was feeling. So after they sewed me back up, they took me to the recovery room. I was in there for, I don't know, I was really out of it at that point.
She was in there for about 4 hours before they let her see William, which was tough.
Yeah. So I was kind of out of it, coming out of the anesthesia still.
Catherine does really poorly with anesthesia, so she was vomiting and couldn't go in and see him very much.
But luckily, Caleb was FaceTiming me for some
I wasn't gonna wait. I waited for a sec, made sure she was gonna be okay, but then I went to see the little man, and that was a special moment. I FaceTimed Catherine for sure, and Uncle Matt brought me a share of Coke with Dad, and I was like, oh yeah, this is real. I'm a dad now. I think he was born around 3:30 p.m.
3:34.
3:34. Yeah. And anyway, I went and saw him, and boy was he precious, and he couldn't breathe, but it was surreal knowing that I had a son now and he was ours, and I knew for sure I wanted him to be named William Lewis, and I had to convince Catherine a little bit because she had some other ideas. She wasn't against it, but she just wanted to wait, but I always wanted that, so thankfully she was patient and flexible with me. But anyway, we talked about it, and when I went back in, and she's like, I want to see him first before we decide. But after she was finally able to see him, we decided to name him William Lewis Allred, and we've known him by that, and Buddy and Goober. What else?
I don't even
so
know.
Many just random
Boo,
little names.
sometimes.
But yeah.
Yeah, there is nothing in the world that will ever come close to the experience of seeing a child that you worked to create for 9 months for the first time. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was throwing up every 5 minutes while I was seeing him for the first time, and I didn't get to hold him until the next day. But it was it was a beautiful and special moment for our little family to be together for the first time. We got to take our first family picture together, and just...
I think it's right here. We can show them. There, let's see if I can get it good on camera. It's this one right here. There we are in the hospital. Buddy's got a little Darth Vader mask on, but he's Buddy nonetheless.
And just kind of to wrap things up, we wanted to talk about some of the tender mercies and the spiritual things that happened.
Do you want me to go first? Yours are probably better than mine, so
sure. Yeah, go for it.
You can be the closer.
Okay.
But yeah, the coolest part about it for me was just seeing him for the first time and realizing that I was now a dad. And it was so fun. Like, I got to start sharing things with him. I knew he wouldn't remember them, but I read in my favorite kids book, The Giving Tree, and we listened to some of my favorite songs by my favorite bands, just random little things, because when you're a NICU parent, you can't bring him home. You have to just go and visit every now and then and find little things to do. And so we just hung out at the hospital and started to bond, and it was just super cool. And I was super grateful to have my dad be able to be there and deliver our son. I knew it was really special for my dad because when him and my mom were having their first child, they lost their oldest daughter, Natalie. And as far as I understand, it was somewhat of a similar experience. I know that there was issues with the umbilical cord, and she passed away before she was able to be born. And I think that factored in a little bit to my dad deciding to be an OBGYN. And with his first grandchild coming out, if he hadn't have been there, I'm sure there would have been another doctor to be able to help us out. But it was really special that he was able to save his first grandson's life and to help bring him into this world. And I, of course, was especially grateful that Catherine was healthy after it. And anyway, being a dad since then has been just incredible. And I don't know, I'm excited to, if at all possible, bring some more babies into this world sometime soon. But
not for 18 months.
Yeah, we have to wait till Catherine heals up, and I would at least like to get into medical school to know we have a chance at a future.
Yes.
Which within the year we'll know. But anyway, so those are my thoughts, and I love you, William, if you're watching this.
From my end, I wrote it down all in my journal the week he was born, so I'm going to reference that. But a couple of really amazing tender mercies for me is, first of all, the little one of my dad telling me to not call the police when I got hit by the other car. The timing was perfect. If I would have called the police, it would have been too late, and worse things could have happened. So I'm grateful for my dad's spiritual prompting to tell me that. A couple of other things. Sorry, I'm just looking through this. I mentioned it a little bit before, but just the relationship that John and I had with each other throughout the whole pregnancy, I think was truly inspired. He was just so loving and open, and I never felt like I wasn't worth his time and him giving care to me. And it really was a relationship that really was set up many, many, many months before this moment of William's birth. It was set up perfectly for that birth to be able to have happened and happen so safely and as well as it did.
You probably wouldn't have felt as confident like asking some of those questions to somebody else.
Oh yeah. And I wouldn't have felt confident just calling. I didn't feel awful at all when I got hit by the car. I felt totally fine. But because I had that relationship with John, I knew he would have wanted me to call. I did call, and that was a big blessing. And I overall, just throughout the whole thing, I felt so grateful for people who were prepared to serve and to help my family that day. I truly believe that every person that was in the operation room, that was at the office that day, they were spiritually prepared, whether they believe in what we believe in or not. God prepared them to bless our family that day. And just to finish it up, the nurse at the hospital sent John a text after all of this happened a few days later, and it kind of sums up how I feel really, really well. I'm trying to find it. Give me a second.
While she's finding that, one thing I forgot to mention is because back when I was in the at Pearl Health with Dr. Denegi, I didn't have to come home because we weren't really sure. Like, yeah, she'd gotten an fender bender, but it wasn't like a big deal. But I know it was from the Holy Ghost. I had this spiritual prompting, like, you need to get home. And actually, if I hadn't, I know I was slow, like I said, getting there. I went to Starbucks, but if I had been, probably like 15 minutes later, I would have missed William's birth. So that was another thing that I was really grateful to God for, that I was able to listen to that prompting and be there to watch our son be born. So.
Yeah, the veil, I think, for me at least, was just so thin that day, just for everyone. I think everyone was so guided by God that day. So John texted, Janelle is her name, a couple days later, just saying thank you so much for all your help that day. And she said this in return. She said, I appreciate the text. It has been too tender to comment back for a few days. Our whole team was shook that day of what could have happened. Paula, Barb, and I just cried when discussing it later that night. I'm an oldie and kicked right in, but what if? My mind is amazed of how things you don't know, fell into place. We are only his instruments, and it's terrifying to think, what if we weren't listening to the promptings? Having kids Caleb's age, it's too easy to be in your shoes. You did awesome, and I sure admire you for calling to get reassurance from your partner, Dr. Evans. We have your back, too. You did everything right. I can't accept any credit because it takes everyone on the floor to make it all come together like it did. Congratulations, Grandpa, and yes, they are already great parents. They learned from the best. And there's just a few things I think that she said beautifully, talking about how all of us are instruments in the Lord's hands. That is so true. And when we are listening to the Holy Ghost, we can truly, truly bless and save people's lives. And I think just the fact that she talks about how she couldn't accept any credit, I think that also describes how I feel. Caleb and I are William's parents, earthly parents, but ultimately he's a child of God. And I am so, so grateful for God creating him and giving us the chance to be his parents and to teach him and to guide him to live a good and happy life. And that's all I want, is for William to just be happy and to be okay. And yeah,
that's about it.
That's what we wanted to make sure we had recorded. So
I guess too, I'd add, since he started to grow, and I guess I'll talk more directly to him at this point, but William, we knew when you were born that you had to be here now, and you were not going to wait. You said, Mommy, I'm ready to come, and you came 6 weeks early. We were glad to have you, and we knew you were here for a purpose. And God, I feel like, has given us a little bit of an insight into your potential and the kind of person that you will grow up to be. And we know that you're a special son of God, and we know that being your parents is going to be quite a fun ride. You're already a crazy little kid, and sometimes you're a pain, but most times we love you.
All day today.
All day today, but yeah, we're excited for the ride and happy to be parents. So I guess that's our story of being first-time parents, and we're looking forward to continuing being William's parents, and hopefully in the next few years or so bring another little one. So
we love you, William, and you make us happy.
That'll be it. We'll see you guys.